Hello everyone, how are you? This is Thursday Tea Time Live. I am just going to get everyone onto Instagram as well. I'm streaming live on YouTube and Instagram. Hello everyone on Instagram. Welcome to Thursday Tea Time Live. Welcome to everyone joining me on YouTube. I'm still getting to grips with doing this on Zoom through to YouTube. And my lighting is very different. If you want to see me looking young, go on YouTube. It's much better. But hi, how is everyone? Give me some Rebecca, hello, how are you doing? Please give me hearts and thumbs up and I don't know, all those kind of things so that I know you are there. Let me turn off my email so that you don't get ping throughout. Today's live stream is the last one for the summer. So if you have any burning questions you wanted to ask me about somewhere I've been or something I've been speaking about or somewhere I might be going, then please feel free to ask me today. Hi Janice, how are you doing? The reason I won't be here next week is because I'm on tour. So as some of you know, I run a company called British History Tours, and we do history tours. And I'm also the tour manager. I'm everything from tea lady to tour manager. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing next week. We're doing the life and times of Elizabeth I. So make sure you're following me on Instagram, British_history_tours, so that you can watch the tour, live vicariously through us next week. Hi Queen 1603, hello Matty boy, hello Lisa, and Rebecca, hello on YouTube. Yes, I'm very glad to see you. Haven't seen you for a little while, Rebecca. Timings I know didn't quite fit in. The tour's going very well. So as some of you know, we've already had one tour this year, the Anne Boleyn tour. That was in May. That was fantastic. And that is re-going. It's not a word, is it? But that's happening again next May. That one, if you're an Anne Boleyn fan or even just a Tudor fan, they're all Tudor tours anyway for next year. It's amazing because we coincide it with a trip to the Tower of London on the 19th of May, which is the date, of course, that Anne Boleyn was executed. And we stay at Hever Castle for the entire time. All of the 2023 tours, in fact, have a stay at Hever Castle of at least one night, which is good. I'll tell you more about the 2023 tours in a bit, because I know not everyone is interested in the tours, but I'll let you know because they're quite exciting just to talk about the places we're going and what we're doing. Hi Anandita over there in India, how are you? So next week I will be on the Life and Times of Elizabeth I tour. This one isn't going next year, although I have one that's similar-ish. So this time next week, Thursday, we will be moving to Hever, and we do 2 nights at Hever Castle. So that's brilliant. We spend the first 3 nights up near Cheltenham. So follow me on Instagram, because we're going to be visiting places like Kenilworth Castle, Harvington Hall, which as you all know I love. We will be going to Stratford upon Avon, which is where I did my live from last week. Sorry those of you on YouTube, I only got to do it on Instagram last week because I was on location and didn't get around to uploading it to YouTube. I'm sorry about that. It's a bit weird because it's filmed vertically and YouTube doesn't particularly lend itself to that. So after Stratford upon Avon, we will move down to Hever Castle and via Penshurst Place, which I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Penshurst Place. It's not far from Hever Castle. Elizabeth I is known to have visited there. It is the setting for the Volta portrait or painting that you may have seen, this one of her dancing this risque dance with Robert Dudley, and that happened there. It's also the backdrop for many films and historical dramas and things like that. And then we will then check into Hever Castle, and we have a hidden Hever tour. We eat in the Great Hall. These are all included in all of next year's tours as well, by the way. And we have speakers. We've got Jonathan Foyle coming again, Tracy Borman, fantastic Tracy Borman, Leslie Smith, who is doing us an audience with Elizabeth, which I cannot wait for. I think that's going to be amazing. I can imagine she's going to scare the heebie-jeebies out of everybody. Her dress alone weighs, I think she said 4 stone. I can't remember if she said 4 or 4.5 stone, but a lot. She's going to look fantastic. And who else? Leander Delisle, and of course my co-host, who is Gareth Russell. So he is with the group the entire time. When he was with me in May, he did lots of little extra talks, which was great, which is so interesting. Of course, people fire questions at him all the time. He's so incredibly knowledgeable. So he's doing a talk, but he's also with the tour group for the entire time. So follow on Instagram. I will post as much as I can. Of course, I am working and giving the group my attention, but I will try and share with you as much as possible. Probably a little bit during the tour, and then I'll be able to share a lot more after the tour. Any of you who are patrons, you will get more, of course. Any of you over on Patreon, I always do behind the scenes photos and a bit of sharing, and you can join that if you like on patreon.com/British History. That is me. So yeah, Rebecca, interesting discussion with him yesterday. So that's Gareth Williams. I know it's very confusing. Gareth Williams, thank you, Rebecca, though, for reminding me, because I did want to tell you all about this. Oh, Brian, it's sunny in Cornwall. Catherine's down in Cornwall. She says it's a little bit chilly, and actually it's a little bit chilly here. Don't know where this heat wave is, but it isn't in my back garden. But anyway, it's pleasant. It's not raining. It's not that cold. It's just not a heat wave. So on YouTube, I have released yesterday. It was originally a Patreon talk. It was 12 months ago. So patrons get exclusive access to lots of content for about 12 months. But I released it yesterday on YouTube. And Gareth Williams is the curator of... It's okay, Rebecca. I even make the mistake myself, because I think the names are the same length, they've got L's in them. Anyway, Gareth Williams is the curator of early medieval coins at the British Museum, and he's married to Leslie Smith, the curator at Tutbury Castle, the lady who's coming to do an audience with Elizabeth I during the tour next week. And I had done an interview with Leslie, who you can also see on YouTube, and she said, "Oh, just have a word with Gareth, her husband." And so I kept the camera rolling, and we had this 20 or so minute chat about the finds that are being discovered. I was able to ask some of my probably silly but burning questions about how every time... What intrigued me is we talks about the finds, and these are coins. Obviously, he deals specifically with coins, but with all sorts of other things, and that are found in these hoards. One, what is a hoard is interesting, but then and why they were buried, depending on kind of the size of the hoard. So a big hoard, it is generally, this is my understanding, in an emergency type situation. So someone has buried their belongings, buried their wealth, their security, thinking that, right, when this battle is over that I'm going to, or this, these invaders have gone, I will come back and retrieve my wealth. Well, of course, that doesn't happen in every case, because people die, blah, 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 etc. So blah, blah, blah. But do you see what I mean? So we get these hoards for various reasons. And then you get other smaller hoards that might be things that are dropped. So they might just show activity in that area. But then you have what is the content of the find itself. And he mentions, actually, I don't know if it's in this chat. I think it is. Coins, and when they're found, there was a coin struck that appears to indicate that there was a rival to the throne for rival to William the Conqueror, after Harold dies at the Battle of Bosworth. And I think she's his sister, Harold's sister, which opens up a whole can of worms, doesn't it? About, okay, so the Battle of Hastings did not make William the Conqueror's accession a foregone conclusion. And also, aren't we supposed to believe that women had no role to play? That men wouldn't follow a female ruler? But there's a female head on a coin. And you don't get a coin struck unless you are significant, unless you're ruling somewhere, unless people want you to. So anyway, it's a fascinating talk. It's only about 20 minutes long. You can head over to my YouTube channel. It's the latest video that is available. It's with Gareth Williams. If you've just joined me, I'm just talking about the talk that I have live on YouTube now with Gareth Williams. So the quality is, I mean, we filmed it during the pandemic. Yes, and Mrs. Williams. Yes. So I just had this interview with Leslie Smith, the incredible Leslie Smith, and her husband is a curator, one of the curators at the British Museum, specifically with coins, and we just had a 20-minute impromptu chat, and luckily I'd kept the camera going. So have a look at that one. I really, really enjoyed it. And Rebecca, I know you've seen it, and Janice, I think you've seen it already, haven't you, as well? Yes, I know you have. You've said about it, and have really enjoyed it. So do go and check that out. Janice, I think there were various uprisings after 1066. Well, yes. Oh, yes. Well, I mean, there was after William was crowned, and clearly he didn't sit back and settle into his position. It was a constant battle, and then into the Welsh lands and Scotland, Strathclyde. It's interesting learning more about that, learning about the Anglo-Saxon period. So that interview is available, or chat really, on YouTube. And then the other one, which patrons have got today, everyone else, you will get it on the 24th, which is a week on Sunday, and that is my interview with Elizabeth Norton. Elizabeth Norton, you might recognise, I've just realised I haven't got her book with next to me. Elizabeth Norton, you'll recognise from many Tudor documentaries. She's well known for her work on the Tudors. That is her specialism. However, she is also very knowledgeable about Anglo-Saxon England. And I interviewed her about King Edgar's wife, Elfrith. And Elfrith is the first queen that we know of England, so a combined England, remembering that in Anglo-Saxon times we have many kingdoms. Well, we have three main kingdoms that were made out of lesser kingdoms that came together and then split apart and then came together in one or two and then three, and then it's complicated. But Queen Elfrith, Queen of King Edgar, had a coronation as queen at Bath, actually. So patrons got a chance to ask their own questions of Elizabeth, but they could, when you're a patron, you get to ask your own questions when I'm interviewing a historian, and it can be about anything to do with their work. So the main interview is about whatever topic we're talking about, but the questions that you as a patron could put to get to them can be about any area of their work. So we had Tudor questions and we had Anglo-Saxon questions. Questions indeed. John was asking about how she researches, especially a time period so far, so long ago, and what's available. So that is a fantastic interview. If you want to get hold of it now and you want the full length of the interview with the patrons' questions as well, then all you have to do is join my Patreon at patreon.com/British History, and you can find the link to that in my bio on Instagram. Kate, I love historians and history. History repeats itself. It does. And I'm going to take a little moment here. The phrase history repeats itself, I've heard now more and more people going, well, it doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Like, come on, are we going to split hairs? History repeats itself. Let's not pretend that we can't, because what I think is the danger with that is that it's a get out from trying to learn anything from the past. Oh, we can't possibly learn because it's different every time it comes around. I don't know. I think that's questionable, because I think human behavior isn't actually that different. Culture might be, belief systems, but the fact there is belief systems runs through time, regardless of what that belief system is. Family structure, the way we get our food, the way we protect ourselves, the way we protect our family. These are running themes. And anyway, Kate, I didn't mean to go off on one after your comment, but the history, oh no, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, it's starting to bug me, because I think it's a get out. I also think people say it to appear clever. Right, I've had some more comments. Jackie, I watched it this morning. This is the interview with Elizabeth Norton. It was brilliant, and I will definitely buy her book now. It made me so curious about the first Queen of England. Yeah, so anyone who's just joined, we're talking about my interview with Elizabeth Norton, which will be available on YouTube week on Sunday to everyone. It's available to patrons now. And we're talking about powerful women in Anglo-Saxon England, but specifically about Queen Elfrith, because not only is she's not a passive queen, she's not just happens to be crowned first Queen of England. She is an active political player, but political in an era where religion was everything. So Christianity is becoming, or is newly, because it's being embedded as the religion of England. As before this, we have paganism, and then Christianity takes centuries to become the dominant religion in England. And one of the ways it becomes dominant is in the era of Elfrith. There are three very powerful bishops, Dunstan, Oswald, and Ethelwald, and they are religious reformers in a quite fanatical sense. Some more than others. So Ethelwald is he's extreme. So he wants to rip up the rule book. And interestingly, because we've heard this, back to your comment, Kate, about history repeating itself, they want to bring back monasticism to the good old days when monasticism was pure and it followed the rule of Benedict. They referred back to a time that had never actually happened. But that invoking of a golden era, we've heard this over and over again. We still hear it now, referring back to some sort of golden era in order to justify some action now in a direction that someone wants to move in. Lisa, I think paganism is making a comeback. Interesting. I think paganism, I don't know enough about paganism itself. However, I think anything that brings us more into contact with the physical world at a time where, I mean, this is brilliant. I can talk to you. I know everyone's all over the world. We can talk to each other like this. This is fantastic. But we are living in an era where you'll get up and look at the phone straight away rather than talk to somebody in your own household. So I think anything that Christianity could do it as well, but maybe there's an element of paganism with the natural world element to it that could help. I don't know. I think anything that gets people back into nature and that link to the natural world, however it happens, is good. So there you are. So there's 2 interviews. The one with Gareth Williams you can check out straight after this. That only went live yesterday, and the one with Elizabeth Norton goes live week on Sunday. If you're on paganism includes crystals, citrine. Well, Lisa, you've been following me long enough then. I love a crystal. I love a good crystal. Comes from the earth. So yeah, citrine, a bringer of attracts wealth and wealth and manifests stuff that makes you feel good. I don't know. Rebecca, what's going on with the discussion about really naming the early medieval period Anglo-Saxon? Yeah. Abundance, yes, Lisa, it does. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. So there, this is the kind of thing I don't take a whole heap of notice at, because why do we keep needing to reassess everything? So there is supposedly a problem that far right groups take on, call themselves Anglo-Saxon, or so, I don't know, something like that. I don't know. If we're going to get offended by everything all the time, then we're going to have a big problem. So I would refer you to Mark Morris's book on the Anglo-Saxons. I'm looking around because I think I'm going to have it. I think I've got it on Audible actually, and he actually addresses this right at the beginning, because there's nuances to I don't understand. But if I say the Anglo-Saxon period, we know what we mean. If you say early medieval, it's a bit too big. So the Anglo-Saxon period is basically the period between the Romans leaving, and this isn't obviously a time stamp and everything changes, but from the Romans leaving to the Norman invasion. And those 2 things do really change the landscape. They change the politics, they change the religion, they change how the rulership. Again, I've made up a word, but that makes a big difference. So this period in the middle, so the Romans leave, the Normans come in 1066, but in between you have invasions by Angles and Saxons and Jutes, and of course the Danes. Now that's an interesting thing. Danelaw, which wasn't referred to as the Danelaw at the time, but but half, if you look at maps of Anglo-Saxon England, half of the country, half of the landmass was ruled over by Danes, which is incredible. And when you get more into the history of it as well, the balance could have been tipped in the favor of us not becoming because the Angles and the Saxons did become dominant. So England is Angleland. It's the land of the Angles. Angleland, England. So everyone knows what we're talking about if we talk about Anglo-Saxon England, and it is quite descriptive of what was happening at the time. There's my take on it. And I don't see why, just because some people we don't like, and probably rightly so don't like, but I don't know enough about them anyway, decide to call them something, why we suddenly have to change what we do. So there you go. That's my take on it. And maybe there's something to it that I don't understand, but yeah. Early medieval, I think, is like medieval. I always think of as the 13th and 14th century. When is my book coming out, Lisa? I still don't know what I'd write it on. I think I'm going to go down the fiction route, because I can weave in lots of true stories without having to, without spending the rest of my life researching, because I'm so pedantic. If I'm writing a blog, I'm writing even a post on social media, and yes, I make mistakes, but I try to be as factually correct, obviously, as I possibly can. There's always conjecture, of course there is. We're talking about times where we weren't there, and we can go on the evidence, and we talk about people. And as I've said in the past, we could look at the same event right now and interpret it differently. So Lisa, Jean Plaidy did that, fiction based on fact. Yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to go. What I always think is, in the winter when it's not tour season, basically, I'll write a book. Just like that. Yeah, which is why it's not happened yet. But to be fair, I didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do, but I'm gathering my thoughts on what I would do, because there's history, people, it's better than fiction, isn't it? How people live their lives is better than fiction. So next week, though, do follow me on Instagram, because I will be popping up. After that, though, I am going to be on holiday. Well, I'm going to be camping, so I can't take the of course I can't take the whole summer holidays off, but I am going to be somewhere where the signal's quite not great, but great for having a break. So I will be in contact, but it will be sporadic. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to be here for Thursday Tea Time Live. So the first Tea Time Live, I think, is the 8th of September, if that's a Thursday. So I also will be missing from History After Dark. I know a lot of you joined us for History After Dark last night. We were talking about Lady Jane Grey, and I have a book for you, either to remind you if you were there last night, or if you're interested. Book recommendation. This is Leander de Lisle's book, and it is called The Sisters Who Would Be Queen, and it's a triple biography. It's about Mary, Catherine, and Jane Grey. We were talking about Jane Grey last night, but we did go off on quite a few tangents. So I think it was quite an interesting conversation. Catherine tried to join us from Cornwall, but the signal just wouldn't work. It wasn't strong enough for her to join us properly. So it was Dr. Kat and myself talking about that. So I have shared that to my story on Instagram, but you can also, of course, check out that and all of our past discussions on history.after.dark. It is not for the faint of heart or the easily offended, so you are forewarned, and you can decide whether or not you're going to get down that hole with us, as it were. Rebecca, glamping, sort of. I don't know it. No, but I have all the mod cons, basically. So it's definitely electric hookup, fridge, hairdryer, a camping bed. So not a blow-up bed. I've got a really bad back, so I can't do blow-up beds. High quality sleeping bag. The only thing I don't have is a toilet. I just go to the toilet block. I still do that. But it's so no, not exactly glamping, but I don't really miss any of the mod cons. It's lovely. It's lovely to get fresh air. And I tell you what, there's no better sleep you will get than sleep when you have been outside all day. It's fabulous. I will try and get to a few places actually where I am. Oh, so actually talking about Anglo-Saxons, I've discovered that while I've been reading about the Anglo-Saxons, that there's a place near to where I go that was yeah, exactly, Katie. Can't beat a bit of camping. 5 weeks of it. Did 6 weeks last year, so I know I can do it. There's a place that my journalist, no camping or glamping for this girl. Do you know what though? I didn't go I was avidly against camping. There was no way I was going camping until I went about, I don't know, actually, the kids were probably a little bit younger than I thought they were, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. And I went and I did one night the first time. And it was a bit of a disaster. And then I went, right, if I'm going to do it again, I have to have, I think that was the bed and a proper sleeping bag. So that was the first thing. And then I'd come back and go, next time I need this. And the next time I need this. So anyone who wants to get into it and just needs a list of stuff they need, let me know. Oh, Sam, you have a toilet tent, so you're one step ahead, above where I am. Although I have a nice plot that is far enough away from the toilet block not to be bothered by the light from it all night, but close enough that I can get there as and when, without having to do a miles trek. And there's a place nearby that the Anglo-Saxons, the Vikings had a massive raid on, I think it's during the reign of King Alfred. I'm going to take my books with me and check it out. So I may well do a little video on that. An American tune. Oh, hello, Jenna. My husband and I just camped for 7 weeks. Yes, well done. And now we're camping in Maine at the end of this month. Now, I don't know, I can't remember whereabouts in America you are, but don't you have wildlife to deal with over there as well? See here, we had some mice in the tent last year, but that's as dangerous as it got. And some horses around the back of the tent, but they were behind a fence, so that wasn't dangerous, was it? But yeah, so we don't have to deal with any of that, thankfully. There's also a place called, well, I don't have annual leave. This is the thing. I work for myself, so I work all the time. Not to put too fine a point on it. I don't ever take any time off, but this is the point, so I can just work. I'm actually in between tours because I have another tour in September. That one is with Sarah Morris. And, oh gosh, Jenna, bears and coyotes. Brave lady. I don't even know how to contemplate sleeping in a tent when you're there. Bears and snakes. Oh, my journalist, bears and snakes, mice and rats would burn down the entire tent. Oh God, skunks, Rebecca. Oh no, now snakes I thought I was okay with until I was invited to a VIP day at the safari park near me, and I was introduced to some snakes. I did not know they could move that fast. Oh my God. And these were the non-poisonous, these weren't going to bite you, but they did have some there that do. And apparently these little buggers, they will coil up, and they're in like, they have tanks that, I think there's the tank, they obviously put them in when they need to get them out to check them out and check them over for health, whatever. So I don't think they're kept in them all the time, but because they're like the same sort of ones that you put a hamster in or something in a pet shop. So not anyway, but these things will, I presume, coil up, and they can fly out of these things, these little enclosures they're in. Nope. So I thought I was fine with them until I met one. They gave me this really long stick that you're supposed to use to pick them up and put them back down. Well, he was up that stick and up my arm the moment it was there. I know. Oh no, I can't do it. Jenna, we lay in bed and listen to the coyotes hunt. It's a very interesting sound. Interesting. Frightening. The only thing I remember about coyotes is Roadrunner. That's actually my sum total of knowledge, which probably isn't highly accurate, is it, about the life of a coyote? Yeah, no. Clean, no. I know. Is that the snake thing? So there's also a place near where I'm going called Cleeve Abbey, which I cannot help but share multiple videos of when I go, or photos of when I go. So if I get there, I will also share that with you, because it's really complete. You've probably heard me talk about it before, and it bears repeating even if I have. It has a complete dormitory. Nothing on the inside of the dormitory is just open now, but it is a complete dormitory with the roof, and so the windows, you can see the windowsills. This is when the monks were there. Obviously they were there for centuries, so things change over time, but at some points they were allowed to decorate their windowsill, if you like. So there's windows periodically along the wall, and they would have their little space, so their bed, they might have a partition between them at various times, it depends, not initially, but the only bit that they could put their own mark on, which is interesting, isn't it, that we as humans have to do this, we feel the need to put our mark on somewhere. It's why you get graffiti places, and art, and they would make their little windowsill bit for them. So there might be some artwork, some different tiling, whatever it is, and you can see these different ones. They also had a running water toilet block ensuite off the dormitory. I thought that was quite cool. And you can see where that was. That doesn't still exist, but you can see the channel and you can see where it was. The chapter house is interesting. It's off the cloisters, which is what we expect, but it's sort of in the fabric of the building that's there. So the building goes round, if you like, so it's not built on the edge, I'm thinking chapter houses at somewhere like Westminster Abbey or Worcester Cathedral, somewhere like that, where you have the cloisters and then you have a building off, which is the chapter house. This isn't. It's inside the court. Yeah, I'll share it with you rather than try and explain it. But anyway, that's still there. You can still see traces of the paintwork. It's amazing. The refectory is still there. In fact, there was two, one of which the original these floor tiles, the flooring still was rediscovered and is now protected. They've put a building up around it so that it's protected, and then the one that replaced it is still there. The ceiling is amazing, with lots of eavesdroppers in the ceiling, eavesdroppers or angels, a bit of both, and they're in the ceiling. And the doorway up to where the one monk, because obviously the monks ate in silence, bar one monk who would read from the scriptures while everyone else was eating, and you can still see the door. I think it's then blocked off, but up to a little window where he would have sat, where that monk would have sat. There's quite a lot there. Basically, there's still the abbot's house there. There's still, which was because it became a farmhouse. So this is how places would survive, is if they became, so if there's various different ways. If the church of the monastery, so the monastic church, became a parish church, it might have survived. Places like Waltham Abbey. If the buildings survive because they may have been changed into a secular house, so somewhere like Wenlock Priory, or here at Cleeve Abbey, or where else was I thinking? I just thought of a different example as well. Well, no, Glastonbury's not. Ignore that. That's not a good example. The kitchens at Glastonbury survive. So different. This is why different abbeys survive in different ways, depending on what they were used for. In fact, at Wenlock, very little survives because it's quite out of the way. But so you also have some of the abbot. Sorry, I've said the abbot's lodgings, but some of the senior monks, they would have a little room with, well, actually it was a 2-room little cottage with a, not cottage, but room, 2-room dwelling with a separate garderobe. Fancy. And you can still see them there. But yeah, so Cleve Abbey was created into a or was used as a farm at some point. I think a lot had that fate, which means it's there. It means it's used in a kind of a blunt way. It's not being looked after in that sense, but then as well, it doesn't. They don't. These places don't get invested in and modernized, so you get more of the original fabric. So if I get a chance, I think that sounds like somewhere that you would like me to share with you. Patrons, I will definitely be doing something. I think I did a proper big virtual tour of it actually in Patreon last year. So if you're in my Patreon now, even if you weren't in it last August, have a look back through the posts, have a look through the tag which says virtual tours, and you will find Cleve Abbey there. It's beautiful. So yeah, so that's where. So and then I will be back on. Did anyone check? Is the 8th of September a Thursday? I might even be back the Thursday before that, actually, but we shall see. And with lots of stories about what's about to come up. So we'll have done the Elizabeth tour, which is next week, and we will be about to do On Progress with Anne Boleyn in September, which is going to be really interesting. We go to places like Soothey Castle, Hales Abbey, we just talked about an abbey, Thornbury Castle. Oh, thanks, Sam. So 8th is a Thursday. So I will definitely be back by the 8th of September, if not the week before, possibly the week before. And then there will be a week, obviously, when I'm on tour again in September. And then I'm back for the winter, and maybe I'll write the book, although we've got some big projects that we will be able to announce that are going to be happening over the winter. Fun stuff for anyone into their history. So you're gonna, you get a chance to decide whether it's for you or not. One of the things that I will mention now is we're doing a Stuart Summit. Do I say that right? Summit. Don't know. You get what I mean. We're doing one at the end of November. So if you're interested in the Stuarts, who of course followed on from the Tudors, it's actually an incredibly interesting and influential time period. It impacts more on us now than the Tudor period does, and that's because of the way the politics went, religious reform went, and the monarchy developed as well. So incredibly interesting time period. So we're doing a Stuart Summit at the end of November. It's all online, so you'll be able to catch that either live. We're going to have a mix of live events, which will be very fun. I think we might have a quiz in there. A bring your own bottle quiz. Bottle and plate. Anyone done a bottle and plate evening where you'll get together, and so that not one person has to be lumbered with all the catering. Everyone brings a bottle and a plate of food. Anyway, we'll do that, except if you can't share. So bring your own bottle and your own plate. Will it be Zoomed? Yes, it will. So the Stuart Summit will take place over the the Friday night to the Sunday, Friday evening to the Sunday evening, and you'll get links to the talks. So we've got talks from, I think it's 5 or 6 historians, and then there will be 3 live events as well during that time. But even if you can't join live, you'll be able to get hold of everything for at least a month afterwards. I'll have to decide, but you will get the links to everything. So it will be Zoomed, so that the lives will, so that you can so that everyone can join in a big group, a potluck round. I might base should really base the questions on what the speakers have been speaking about. Maybe, I think we'll mix it up. So right, anyone who let me just finish off. Well, unless you've got any other questions about anything that we've been talking about recently, remember to check out History After Dark from last night if you missed it. That is live every Wednesday at 8:15 on an evening, London time, but you can obviously catch it back up on the replays on IGTV at history.after.dark. Sounds fun. Yeah. potluck. Oh, bring your own bottle. Yeah. If you're interested, make sure you're on my newsletter list so that you get each week. Basically, I share a link back to the History After Dark, back to this live stream, back to, we've got Visiting Tudor Britain. I must tell you about that before we go. Visiting Tudor Britain every Friday, that I do with Deb Royal and Sarah Morris. We're actually visiting Tudor France tomorrow, because any of you who follow Sarah Morris, who's the Tudor travel guide, she was in France recently in the Loire Valley, and she's going to be telling us about that. So we're visiting Tudor France tomorrow in that. But my newsletter always has all the links to all these live shows that we do each week. So if you have missed any, you don't have to go looking for them. You can just get hold of the newsletter, which lands in your email box on a Sunday afternoon. It also has a link to the most recent historian interviews. Are we on daylight saving time in England? Which way round does it go? I don't know which one's which. Presumably daylight saving time is the winter time. I tell you what, it is 1:45 now, if that helps, Rebecca. If that helps work it out. Should do like a big announcement every time we switch over. But does anyone else just go, oh, it's this week, oh, it's today, oh, it was last night? When it happens, it's a bit ridiculous that we still do it, as if it actually makes any difference to anybody anymore. My journalist watched, oh cool, she watched Sarah's short impromptu location lives while she was in France. It was a present little break, yes. Oh, I see, your break in your day, yes. So Sarah's going to be telling us more about the Loire. You can check out some of her lives then on her IGTV. She's at the Tudor Travel Guide. There was lots of whispering going on because she was inside buildings. She's fantastic. Love that. So yeah, on the newsletter, I'll have links to all the lives, links to the latest historian interviews, updates as to what is happening in Patreon in case you would like to join, and any other information. This week, however, on Sunday, it is going to be purely about the tours for next year, 2023 tours, because they are only being released to my newsletter list until I get back from tour. So VIPs and patrons have already had those links, but everyone else on the newsletter list gets those on Sunday. So you'll be able to link through to the website on the hidden VIP link, which gives you all the information about the tours. So there are going to be 4 tours next year. Each tour only has 20 spaces. So if you want to get on one, grab your space. They've already started to fill up. We have the Anne Boleyn tour in May. That one, there's 4 spaces left. We have the sorry, I was just reading Rebecca's comment. You're on 6 hours difference. Yeah, that makes sense. We have On Progress with Anne Boleyn again, actually, but that's going to be in June. It's September this year. It's going to be June next year. We have 6 Queens of Henry VIII, and in September the Elizabeth I and Mary Queen of Scots tour. So those are the 4 tours that are available next year. 20 spaces on each maximum. Like I say, some of those have already gone because people have already booked on from the VIP list. If you're interested or think you would just like to know what the crack is, what the itineraries might be, then make sure you are on the newsletter list. You can get there by going either to my website or use the link in my bio on Instagram. It's free to sign up to the newsletter list. Yes, so Jenna, yes, you've been missing me. Well, I will put, thing is, I'm going to pop up, but it's going to be sporadic. I can't say I'm going to definitely be here at 1 o'clock every Thursday, or definitely on History After Dark at 8:15 every Wednesday. I don't think I'm going to be able to take 5 weeks off, if I'm perfectly honest. So I think I probably will be back for at least a week in that time. But at the moment, I don't know when that would be, so I can't tell you. So it'll be a Bobby bonus if you see me during August. Maybe I'll come on around my birthday time, because I enjoy celebrating my birthday with you all at the end of August. for today, though. So remember my book recommendation. I would be really interested, actually, to know if any of you are interested in the Grey sisters and the succession around the Tudors, around Mary's succession, around Elizabeth's succession. Then the secrets are in this book, and I would like to know what you think of it. This is the one I'm going to be reading while I am on holiday. So we could do a book club. So get hold of this book, read it, and we'll reconvene. I didn't really like a history book club. Do you think that'd be fun? It would make me actually read them rather than just show you them, say I'm going to read them, and then go, oh, I'm still not ready. My problem is I fall asleep when I read. It's really not good. Right, everybody, I will leave you there. Have a lovely summer. If you are around at 4 o'clock tomorrow, we've got Visiting Tudor France. It's normally Visiting Tudor Britain, and Sarah's going to be telling us about the Loire Valley. But after that, I will be gone. Check me out on Instagram because the tour will be on there. You'll see me around. I'm not going to leave you stranded for 6 weeks, I can promise. My birthday, end of August, 28th of August. So I'd quite like to be around for then. We shall see. I quite like the summer. We can be a little bit more flexible. Right, everyone. I keep saying I will leave you, so I shall. And have a great rest of your day. Hopefully I will see you tomorrow on Visiting Tudor Britain. And yeah, just keep in touch. Right, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.